Hey guys, Chicky Domain, Deboo.com with a Deboo.com surf forecast update. This forecast update effective around 9 a.m. on Wednesday, December 28, 2016. And guys, this update may be a little long-winded, so we'll hope you'll stay tuned for all of it. But as we've been talking about in our last several updates about weather weirding, about these anomalous highs, and how strange it is for the entire month of December for Puerto Rico and the islands not to get that winter northerly swell. We've also been talking about the pattern shift coming that looks to be setting up after the first of the year, and then we could get into the return of a more typical pattern for this time of year into a northerly swell event. And the models have been hinting over the last couple of days that a large swell event is going to take place in the Atlantic. We'll show you that here in the models here in just a few moments. Start you off with today's satellite imagery and point some things out. You know, we always talk about flow. So we have an upper level low over here off the west coast of the United States. This is connecting into the jet stream. So we have a southwest and then a flow coming out of the west. And up in here, there's some energy that is going to be clipping off. This is a first sign of an Alberta clipper, which we have not seen that thus this year so far as well. But this area of low pressure is going to come sliding in through here. And the European model has been really suggesting strongly that a low is going to rapidly intensify up in here in the Gulf of Maine. At the same time, we're going to get an anomalous high in here just to the southeast of Greenland, probably 1040 or so, but that is going to start to kick off this next event. One thing we want you to notice here, and unfortunately our camera is not set up precisely, but there's an area of low pressure just to the right of your screen. Don't know if you can see my cursor or not. That's out here in the Atlantic. This is going to play an important role between the high pressure that's forecast up in here southeast of Greenland. So the flow is like this, guys, from left to right. This is wrapping up in here, another area of low pressure here, and this semi-Alberta clipper next 72 hours is going to slip up in here, but that high is going to act as a blocking mechanism. Now, we are already starting to see the first signs of swell directional change in the 96 hours swell forecast out of NOAA's OPC. If you look up in here towards the tip of Greenland, you see some northerly swell starting in here. Okay, and that's in effect towards that area of low pressure. We'll show you that here in the models. But for now, there is a little east-southeast bump that's showing on the northeast Bahama buoy. If you go look at the data, over the last 24 hours, the buoy has come up overnight to about 8 feet out of the east-southeast in swell height. So there's a little pulse coming, but at the same time, coming into this weekend, we're going to get a strong west-southwest flow setting up off the outer banks that's going to put us in a little mini flat spell until this next event can unfold. And the event looks to start to set up at day 5 and run through day 8. We'll show you that here in the most recent model runs. Now, this is the 06Z GFS, and we're not really prone to look at the 06Z. We like to look at the 12Z and the 00Z and stick to that. But this 06Z kind of popped out at us this morning and has got us really excited. So we'll walk you through the model. Here's this area of low pressure. This is an Azore low. If you follow us on our social feeds, you know we posted a couple of times about an Azore low coming. Here it is in the model. This is current now. And then here's another area of low pressure that's south of Greenland. And over in here, left-hand portion of your screen towards the top, here comes this energy for this Alberta type clipper that's going to move through the Gulf of Maine. We're going to advance the model for you. Now, this is at 48 hours, and as you can see, I'll back it up. Watch how this little clipper comes into the Gulf of Maine, and then it bombifies out to about a 965, and then lifts on up towards southern Canada up in here, and then another area of low pressure kicks off here off of Nova Scotia, south of Newfoundland. Now look over here to your right. Here's that area of low pressure now that is still out here that's over the Azore, but it's weakening. High pressure developing up in here southeast of Greenland, 1038 millibars, and this is going to start to get some northeast swell going. Okay, we've got negative swell production for this side of the Atlantic with this, but this does have a northwest flow to it. So now we have two swell directions, northwest and northeast developing. This is a southerly wind flow going up into the tip of Greenland. That'll put some warm air over Greenland in here, and in the Arctic this year, there's been some weird weather going on there as well. So we'll advance the model for you just a little bit more now. This is at 4 days, 96 hours, and look what happens to this area of low pressure over here by the Azores, and now this 1045 millibar high stacking on top. That's easterly fetch in here, guys, that's developing with a little northeast, and look, another anomalous high moving out into the Atlantic on Sunday. This is January 1st. Now watch what happens here. Look at this northeast fetch that's starting to develop and a secondary low in here. Now, when we go back and look at the swell model forecast, see this line right here that runs through Newfoundland. The more fetch out of the east that you can get below this line, the more swell that's aimed at this side of the Atlantic. Switch it back to the model now. So here's Newfoundland, straight through here. Here's some northeast fetch developing behind this. This is going to sneak in underneath and aimed towards the northeast coast in here. At the same time, we have building high pressure, increasing east-southeast winds aimed at the southeast U.S. coast. Advance the model a little further for you. This gets into day 6. Double barrel low, 1038 millibar high, consistent days of east-northeast fetch, now starting to work into the central Atlantic. Now, this is going to be aimed at the islands in here, guys, and because the low is dropping, the closer the swell source, the larger the swell can get at times. Up in here towards the mid-Atlantic from the OBX north, you're going to get into a strong southerly suck-up behind this next area of low pressure that's developing. We'll advance the model a little further into day 7. Again, another area of high pressure south of Greenland. And look at this northeast fetch that's opening up, Florida surfers. Okay, double barrel low, northeast fetch, consistent days of wind blowing in this direction should start to create some groundswell. Now again, Puerto Rico and island surfers, look at this, how this road opens up of northeast winds all aimed at you. And then for East Coast, it could be timing of offshore winds that are coming at swell arrival. But this is going to put some strong offshore winds again as this next, look at this thing. Guys, this is inside of 10 days. So this is the second one. We got the one that's coming up this weekend, Gulf of Maine, and look what the model is hinting at already. Gonna advance it and try and keep it in a 10-day window. Double barrel low continues out here towards the Azores, northeast fetch, all aimed at Puerto Rico, and then boom, coming up on day 9. Here it comes, guys. High pressure moving into the mid-Atlantic, into day 10, northeast fetch, over pre-existing northeast fetch that has been out here in the Atlantic for days on end. This area of low pressure persistent in here with continued east-southeast winds combined with this easterly trade. So it looks like two different swell sources out of the northeast and out of the east-southeast coming up in the upcoming forecast. Guys, it looks like exciting times ahead. Stay tuned for the updates. Follow us on our social media, Facebook, Debut Surf Forecast, Twitter, @DadAbu, and on Instagram, Debut Surf. Thanks for tuning in.